Hello, my name is Kathy Waite and I'm also known as your net worth manager. I work as a fee-only financial planner, which means that I don't sell products or make commissions. I just work for my clients. This is the fourth of four short videos about indexing, and the goal was to explain why indexing will help you grow your money faster than any other option open to regular families. So your question might be, how do I use this and what tools would my advisor use? What might this cost me? If we want to buy an index, we could actually do it in a number of ways. The first way would be to go and buy the individual stocks. So we talked about indexes, and one would be called the S&P 500. Of course, that has 500 stocks in it. If you were to go and buy the TSX, that would be 234. The biggest bond indexes have 1,000. So bang, there would go your profit and fees. Big institutions can do this. Those like Yale, under the guidance of David Swensen, have actually done it since 1983, but they have volume. Warren Buffett can do this, but he has billions. These are really big institutions, but it's not realistic for ordinary folk to go and do this. Your trading fees would just eat up any of the profits you make. So second choice is to go and use an index mutual fund. Most people are familiar with mutual funds. They've been around since the 1980s, and initially I think they were a good idea. The idea was to pool your money so you diversify. Unfortunately, they've been turned into what I would call a weapon of mass destruction, mostly by salespeople, because they're over expensive for what they do, the fees are embedded and hidden, and the performance is opaque. But if you use one for indexing, it becomes a much more useful tool. Many of the big banks like TD, RBC and BMO do actually have a range of index funds, and they would cost less than half of their normal product. It's a secret. If you go in there and you ask, they will do their utmost to get you to buy something else. There's obviously not so much profit in it for them. In fact, if you to go into TD or to go online to a TD discount brokerage and try and open an account to buy them, you would have to print the forms off and take the forms into the branch, who then of course act all confused and try and get you just to do something else. Ted Cadsby, who's an ex-VIP of TD, wrote quite a few years ago now that if the news ever got out about the TD index funds, they would be swamped with requests. And I'll put his comment in my blog and the link to it below. So are index funds the answer to all our problems? They're certainly a useful tool, but you have to be careful because some have what's called a tracking error. And that means that they don't do what they're supposed to do, which really defeats the object of the whole thing. Tracking error means that they don't really follow the index very well. It's generally a fault in the fund's operation. It just means the software that they're using isn't good enough. And what's the point of an index fund that doesn't track the index? We want predictable, we want transparent. So the third, and what I would consider to be the best way to index, is to use an ETF. That's an exchange traded fund, which of course sounds scary. When we think of the exchange, we think of a place full of traders screaming and yelling and waving their arms around. But it's actually much simpler than anything else I've just described. Unlike a mutual fund, they're not sold through a dealer, or they're not sold through an advisor for a commission, so it's much easier to avoid conflicts of interests. An exchange-traded fund is an investment that's built in the same way as a mutual fund. One fund, and inside it there's potentially hundreds, sometimes thousands of individual securities. So you buy one fund and it has all those things in it. But it trades on an exchange throughout the day like a stock, hence the name fund and exchange traded fund. So you may ask, why haven't I heard of this before? Well, to be quite honest, they don't pay any commission, so no one sells them. If you can only buy them yourself through a discount brokerage or through a fee-based or a flat fee advisor, and they're usually IIROC or not MFDA. So I'm not going to get into explaining the difference in licensing and education standards right here, but if I was to say that I have known young adults who have passed the MFDA exams in grade 12, then that probably tells you something. So what do ETFs cost? They are usually 1/10 or less than the price of your regular mutual fund. They're very liquid, they're very transparent, and the main thing is you know exactly what you are getting. So how would I go about doing this? There's a couple of options. You could go and open yourself a self-directed discount brokerage. Sometimes people call it online trading. Every year, Rob Carrick from the Globe and Mail does a survey and he lists the bests. There's big names, anything from RBC to smaller ones like Qtrade and Virtual Brokers. However, if that's not your idea of fun, look for a flat fee, often called fee-only portfolio manager. These are of course more common in big cities like Toronto and Vancouver, but they are starting to pop up across the country. Some have high minimums, but not all of them do. Basically with those, you pay a fee per month based on the complexity and the amount of reviews you want in the year. They don't charge you a percentage of what you have. So in summary, buy the market, stop looking for the needle in the haystack. Buy the haystack, to quote Jack Bogle. Get your fair share of market returns. Reduce volatility, increase predictability. To do that, use exchange-traded funds, ETFs. They're cheap, they do exactly what they say in their name. Rebalance it once a year. Keep it simple, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do because our brain doesn't always like simple. We have to think it should be more complicated than this. So that's my little series on indexing, what it is, why and how. On my YouTube channel, you'll see videos of people like Warren Buffett, Nobel Peace Prize winners and academics. So go watch some of them, don't believe me. And I'll finish by saying no one cares more about your money than you do, so it always pays to be informed. And I do believe in putting plans before products, and then you will get to where you want to be, not just gather a load of useless products along the way. Any questions, give me a call, 306 535 2255, 306 535 2255, or email me. Remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question. What's stupid is not asking the question.